hopefully get going. So welcome to my Pilates class. As always, just remember that if you have joined with me before, I think most of you have, I recognise your names there, just make sure that you just stay safe. Stick to your own level. I'll give you different levels of all the, nearly all of the sequences today. If you do have any injuries or anything at all, any vulnerabilities in any parts of your body, make sure you don't do anything you feel uncomfortable doing, or rest anytime you need to. So we'll do our standing warm up first of all. So just get our bodies nice and warm, a little bit stretching and moving our spine in different directions, and then we can go down onto the mat and do our very gentle Pilates exercises today. So let's set ourselves up first of all. So we're standing really nice and tall. So we've got a really good posture before we start. So remember, the main things in Pilates is our breathing. So breathing in to the sides and back of your rib cage. And when you breathe in, you just feel the rib cage expand sideways. When you breathe out, you do feel your ribs drain in and down. And always remember, the most important thing when you're moving, particularly when you're doing core exercises, is to just make sure you're pulling your abdomen in, so pulling in and lifting them up. So I will remind you of all of those things as we go through the sequences. So make sure you're standing with your heels underneath your knees, underneath your hip bones, so your legs are parallel, and your feet, make sure your feet are facing exactly forward, so they're not turning outwards or inwards. So we've got a really nice alignment with our heels on knees and our sit bones or our hip bones. Make sure we're standing really nice and tall. Just feel like you're just trying to lift the top of your head up towards the ceiling, but keep it very grounded in your footprint. Chest is open, collarbones wide, you've got a nice big smile across the front of your chest. And your ribs, just feel like you're just trying to gently draw your ribs down towards your hips, so you've got that rib to hip connection. So just make sure your lower back is open. Just feel like you're just gently pulling or dropping your tailbone down towards your heels. So you're opening up your lower back without a tip and tilt of your pelvis, so just in a neutral position in between. And this is when we set everything up, we can just pull the abdomen in, so you've got that belt underneath your belly button. So just drawing that belt in a little bit tighter, so pulling in, and you're lifting up, so you're zipping up from the top of your pelvic bone all back to your belly button and beyond. So almost feel like you've got a waistcoat on around your centre, supporting your spine and keep your pelvis nice and still. Just bring your arms down by your sides. Let's just get a little bit of warmth into our shoulders. So bring your shoulders forwards up by ears and slide your shoulders down towards the base of the spine. Just that nice rotation around your shoulders. Try and release any tension as you slide your shoulder blades down towards the hips. And just let's start to focus on our breathing. So breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. So just remember, breathing into the sides of the rib cage and into the back. So take this nice big deep breath. Let's float both the arms up towards the ceiling now as you take your in-breath and breathing out. Just bring your arms down by your side. Just increase that range of movement through your shoulders. Keep it small if you need to. And let's take a big in-breath, put your arms up towards the ceiling, take them wide to the side, keep that softness in your elbows and bring your arms back down by your sides. Let's breathe in, reach your arms wide side over your shoulders, and then again wide to the side and bring them back down. Just this last time, just look up, gently looking up as your arms come over your shoulders, just looking up towards the ceiling. Then as your arms come wide now, just take your eye gaze forward again and bring your arms all the way down by your sides. Let's combine the shoulder movements with a little heel raise. So we're just challenging our balance now. So keep it small at first. So as you breathe in, just lift your heels off the floor and just reach your arms forward, just so they're in line with your shoulders. And then lower your heels and bring your arms by your side. Breathing in, we're lifting up, rising up, fingertips just reaching forwards and slowly coming back down. Let's take the arms wide to the side this time as you breathe in. So almost feel like you're just trying to reach your fingertips to the side walls. Pull your arms down and in as your heels come down. This time, let's reach your arms forward and all the way up over your shoulders. With your heels lifting off the floor, take your arms wide to the side and bring your heels down. Take your arms wide, just lifting the heels, coming right up onto the balls of your feet, or just a little tiny lift of your heels off the floor if you're really wobbly. Take your arms wide side and down as your heels lower back down. One more, lift your heels up, take your arms wide, take your arms over your shoulders. Now, if you can, We're just going to keep the heels off the floor as you bring your arms wide to the side, and then bring them all the way down as your heels come down. Fingertips are reaching towards the floor. Breathe in as you reach your left fingertips towards the floor as your right elbow reaches up towards the ceiling. Take a gentle side bend and lengthen your spine and reach your right fingertips down deeper towards the floor as your left elbow comes up. So just getting that lateral flexion, our side bend. You can keep your hands in contact with your body if you want to. You can slide one hand down the outside of the leg and the other hand up the side of the rib cage if you want just a little bit more stability. Otherwise, just let one arm hang from your shoulder joint, the other arm just hangs from your elbows. Just got a little bit more weight. Perhaps you get just a little bit more stretch if you don't take your arms down by your sides. Keep your hands in contact with your sides. Let's do one more. Just let your right arm reach down and your left elbow come back up. And then bring your arms down by sides. A big shoulder roll. Let's reach your arms wide to the side. Bringing the palms together overhead. Very gently, just slide your hands down towards the center of your chest. Bringing your hands to prayer. Breathe in as you breathe out. Let's take a spine twist round to the right. So keep your nose in line with your fingertips and breathing in, coming back through center. Breathing out. Try and keep your hips completely still. Twisting to the right and back to center. Every time you rotate, try and find just that little bit more length in your spine. And use your exhale as we move away from the midline. Inhale back to center. Do one more of those each way. To the left and to center and to the right and to center. Release your arms down by your sides. Breathe in. As you breathe out, sit back in a squat this time. Just reach your arms forward as you bend your knees and sit back and down. Then we straighten the legs and the arms come back down by your sides. I'm just standing sideways. Exhale, sit back and down. Spine and your neck stay long. Push into your heels, squeezing into your glutes as you stand nice and tall. Keep it really small if you need to, otherwise just sit down a little bit deeper if you can. Remember to keep your abdominals, your core muscles engaged all the while. And let's sit back and down. So just really warming up our glutes, our legs, our hips. Just getting that flexion in our hips as we sit back and down. Do one more. Sit down and reach your arms forward, push into your heels and stand nice and tall at the top. You might want to take another shoulder roll there. Always just feel that release around your shoulders. So now we're going to go to the back end. Now we're going to do our forward flexion. So bending the spine forwards, keep it really small again if you need to, or make it a little bit bigger. So just standing with your heels underneath your hips again, make sure you've got the length of the mat in front of you, that little bit of softness in your knees, shoulders back and down. Breathe in. As you breathe out, just drop your chin towards your chest, just feeling the back of the neck open, then just start to round your shoulders, and then slowly, one vertebrae at a time, we're releasing down towards us. So you can stay here if you want to and come back up, or we can go a little bit deeper, or you can bend your knees, you can put your hands on your thighs, and we're just coming all the way down. If you can, so your fingertips just right forward of your toes. Your knees might be very bent, or your legs might be more or less straight here. Breathe in as you pull the abdomen in, navel to your spine, slowly coming back up, rebuilding your spine one vertebrae at a time. When your shoulders arrive over your hips, then look forwards and roll your shoulders, slide your shoulder blades back and down again. Breathe in as you breathe out, off you go again, chin to chest. So you may just want to stop here and come back up again, or you may want to keep going, or hands on your thighs, or bend your knees. Remember all of your options. If you can, we just got ragdoll arms here. Your arms just hanging long from your shoulder joints. If you come all the way over into your forward fold, you should be looking maybe in between your knees here at the bottom. Let's slowly coming back up. So we're just opening up our spines, one vertebrae at a time, and restacking. Let's go down. Should we stay down this last time? So if you need to bend your knees a lot and walk out onto your mat, otherwise come down with me like this. Fingertips just forward of your toes, and then we can bend the knees and then walk out onto the mat. 3 big round paces forward, then align your hands up, and then try and drop your knees onto the mat right underneath your hips, and then untuck your toes. Like me, you might need to adjust a little bit. So just making sure it's almost like a box position here. Wrists under shoulders, knees under your hips. You've got that length in your spine, top of the head to your tail. Hips are balanced and level, as are your shoulders. Try not to tip or tilt into your pelvis, so your pelvis is in its neutral position. And make sure that we're drawing the abdominals in, so pulling them in and lifting them up to support our spines. A little bit of weight bearing through our upper body here, so just going to do a little bit of upper body work. So try and keep your elbows tucking in if you can, keep your spine and your neck nice and long. Let's do some press-ups. So as you breathe in, we're just going to bend the elbows. If you can, just allow your elbows to point towards the bottom end of the mat, and then bring your chest in between your hands. As you exhale, push the floor away and come back into that box position. Then we're just going to do 2 more like that, or you might just want to sit back on your heels. So inhale, we're coming down. Exhale, we're pushing the floor away, straightening your arms. So the shape of the spine and the neck haven't changed. Just feel it in the backs of your arms, your triceps, and coming out of that on your exhale. So we're back in our tabletop position here. Just going to do a little bit of mobility and work through our lower half now. So we're going to do what we call the fire hydrant first of all. So again, we're keeping our spine and our neck long. All I want you to do is just to hover your left leg off the floor. So your knee and your foot just hovering away from the floor. We're going to keep the shape of the leg the same. Breathe in as you back. We're just going to lift the knee and the foot wide to the side, up towards the ceiling. Keeping your pelvis really level. And breathing in, just hover your knee back underneath your hip. Exhaling, the knee and the foot come wide. So the knee stays in alignment and your heel stays in line with your knee. So all we're doing is just opening up the hips sideways, keeping everything else really still. We're just going to do 2 more like that. So we'll do 5 repetitions, and it can be really small. It doesn't need to be as big as this. Everything else stays level, however. Then put your knee back down on the mat, exactly where it came from, underneath your hip. Let's do the same with the right leg. So hover your right leg off the floor, keeping the knee bent. Breathe in as you breathe. We're going to lift the knee up towards the ceiling. Heel stays in line with your knee. And then bring the knee back to a hover under your hip. And try and do 4 more of those. If you need to, each time you come down, you can put your knee on the floor, but try and resist the floor if you can. So just taking the knee sideways up, and it hovers. And then again. And 1 more last time. Opening up that hip sideways, and put your knee down on the floor underneath it. So we're back where we started. Anybody needs to, you can always drop down onto your forearms now if you want to take the weight out of your wrist. If you can, just stay on your hands and knees. And then we're going to do what we call our donkey kick. So just flex your left foot so the toes of the foot are resting on the floor and the sole of the foot is facing towards the wall behind you. Then hover the knee off the floor, the toes of the knee just hovering off the floor. Breathe in as you breathe out. All I want you to do is to just take the sole of the foot up towards the ceiling, squeezing into your glute. So again, the shape of the leg stays the same, the foot stays flexed. Breathing in, bring the knee back right underneath you and go again. So you're just trying to put your foot on the ceiling. So feel your hip really opening on that left-hand side. Feel it in your hamstring and your glute. And keep going. So we're going to do 5 repetitions of these if you can. So we're going to exhale as we lift. Inhale as the neck hovers just underneath your hip last time like that. And then very slowly put your knee back down underneath your hip, relax your foot, and then we're going to flex the right foot so your toes are on the floor, your heel is facing towards the ceiling again. Breathe in, hover the foot off and leg off the floor, and then as you breathe out, we're going to put that foot on the ceiling again, and then lower your knee to a hover. Keeping everything else really still. So feeling that in your hamstring, in your glute, really opening up the hip as well. So try not to look at your knees. Keep your neck long in line with your spine. And we're going to do that 2 more times. So hips and glutes working here. And last time, foot towards the ceiling. Bring the knee to a hover. And then put your knee on the floor underneath your hip. And then just sit up on your heels or high kneel. Let's just roll the shoulders, a few shoulder rolls in each direction. Again, just releasing off any tension. And you might want to circle your wrists as well, particularly if you've been on your hands and knees, just making sure that we're releasing off any tension in the wrists. Then we're going to come down onto our hands here, so we're going to lie down now. So make your way with your hands towards the top end of the mat. You can just go onto your forearms then and walk your knees back, and then very gently set your hips onto the floor, and then like all the way down. So I'm going to give you options. So now we're strengthening and lengthening the spine. So working the back of the body, we're taking the weight out of our shoulders and our wrists now, so going all the way down. Stack your hands first of all. So this is going to be your first option. So when we can all do this just while we set up our posture. So stack your hands, rest your forehead lightly on the backs of your hands. So the length in your neck. Just try and draw your shoulder blades down towards your hips. So they're not up, your shoulders aren't up where it is. You're just drawing them gently down. Stretch your legs along behind you. Your legs, again, as when we're standing, try and make sure your legs are hip width apart. So your heels, your knees, and your sit bones or your hip bones are in that neutral alignment. So gently draw your sit bones towards your heels, so you'll feel your lower back opening, and just draw your tummy away from the mat. So finding that space underneath your belly button, that little pocket of air there. So just trying to keep the spine supported with your core muscles here. So from here, with your arms very lightly on the floor, we're going to breathe in. As we breathe out, we're just going to gently lift the chest and lift the head and the chest away from the mat. So keep that neck, you keep your neck long. Breathing in, slowly come down, let your forehead rest lightly on the backs of your hands. Exhaling, reach the top of your head forwards and the back of your head goes up towards the ceiling. So just feeling that extension down your spine and that working your upper back, your mid, your upper back, using those muscles without pressing into your arms. We can do one more like that and you can stay with this if you want to. If you want to make it just maybe a little bit more challenging, we're going to slide the hands underneath our foreheads and just take your hands right underneath your shoulders so your fingertips are more or less in line with the tops of your shoulders. Tuck your elbows in. It's almost like you're trying to hug your ribs with your arms. Your elbows pointing towards the bottom end of the mat. Again, shoulder blades back and down. So let's do the same with our arms in this position. So breathe in as you breathe out. You might find it a little bit more challenging there to lift your head and your chest away from the floor without pressing too much into your hands. They're just there to support and stabilize. And then just coming up, so reaching the top of your head towards the wall in front of you, the back of the head up towards the ceiling. So don't try and come too high. Keep it nice and low, but keep it strong. Using those muscles that we just said in your back, shoulders, and come up. So if you want a little bit more of a challenge, see how you go with this. Maybe we can just hold the hands off the floor. And then so we're just taking the weight of our arms and our back and our shoulders and chest off the floor as you find that length. And then coming back down, just come to that hobble with your hands. Let's just do that 2 more times. Exhale, put your hands down if you need to. No pinching in your lower back. No, just keep pressing your pelvis down into the floor. Last time like that. And then your next option, you're going to have a little bit of a stretch. Now, if you've got back issues, you might want to keep it really small. Otherwise, just keep tucking your elbows in and towards the wall behind you. Breathing in, we're just going to gently now press into the hands. Start to pull your shoulder blades down towards your hips. Squeeze your glutes. And so you peel as much of the front of the body away from that as you feel comfortable peeling away. Some of you might come as high as this with your hips off the floor. Some of you might feel uncomfortable coming this high. So on your exhale, we're slowly coming down again. Feel like you're just really stretching your spine as you slowly come back down. Keep the elbows in, keep your shoulder blades down, hover your nose off the floor. Exhale, let's come up again. Just lift your head, your chest. If you don't want to come up any higher than this, that's fine. Maybe put your ribs, maybe even your hips away from the floor. Make sure you're looking forwards and your chest is forwards. Use your exhale to come down. So it's quite intense there, so you don't need to come up this high. Be very mindful of how that feels in your spine. Keep your abdominals drawing in and just make sure you're engaging your glutes if you're coming up this high. This is the last time, so it's just a really nice stretch. all the way down the front of your body. Let's slowly come all the way down on your exhale. And then when our chest is on the floor, once again, we're going to push ourselves up. We're going to come onto our hands and knees now. And then we can pull the sit bones back towards our heels. So we're just stretching. Doesn't matter if you can't sit on your heels, just bring your sit bones towards your heels and just stretch your arms long in front of you. From there, let's just come up onto our hands and knees. And let's just come up and just do a little bit more movement through our spine again on our hands and knees. Again, you can come down on your forearms if you need to. Otherwise, you're nice and square in your box position. Roll your shoulder blades back and down. Tabletop again. Breathe in. As you breathe out, tuck your tailbone under and then start to round your spine, coming into a cat stretch. So this should feel really nice after that extension work we did, lying down on our front. So just flexing your spine now. But let's take it back into extension. So tip your sit bones up towards the ceiling, dip your spine, slide your shoulder blades down towards your hips, and then lift your chest and look forwards. And let's go again. Tuck it out, re-arching your back in your cat stretch. So feel your shoulder blades wide and push your back, your chin tucks in. And then again, we're coming into our extension, into our cow pose. So your spine dips towards the floor, your chest just make sure your shoulders joint, shoulder blades are joint in and down. Let's do one more each way. So just a really nice stretch for our spine. So keeping our spines really mobile, healthy, and back into your tabletop. Now all we're going to do is walk on our hands and knees towards the bottom end of the mat. Just sweep your legs to one side and then forwards and come into your seated position. So a little bit of flexion in your spine. So we're going to do some really gentle half roll back. So if you want to put anything behind your lower back, maybe a cushion, folded up towel, just to support just the very lower part of your back, just pop that underneath your back now. So let's sit really nice and tall first of all. Again, that really nice posture with your spine long, your shoulders over your hips. Just feel like you're lifting again through the top of your head. And then just take your hands behind your thighs. So this is your first option. Just put your hands behind your thighs, just for a little bit of stability. Breathe in. As you breathe, just tuck your tailbone under, round your spine, just roll off your pelvis. And then breathe in as you hold that C curve in your spine. Then come back up on your exhale, shoulders over hips, and then rebuild your spine again. Sit really tall, shoulder blades glide into a soft V shape down towards the base of your spine. Let's go again. Big in breath, lengthen your spine, and as you breathe out, round your spine and just slowly, gently coming back. Breathe in, again, just nails drawing in towards your spine. So you're using those core muscles, we're coming back up, and we're rebuilding, we're sitting tall at the top. Let's take our arms away if you're comfortable to do that. Breathe in as you breathe, just keep reaching your arms forward as you roll off your pelvis, just coming onto the very lower part of your back or your hips. Breathe in, reach your arms forward, come back up, shoulders right over your hips, and then we rebuild and sit tall at the top. And let's do that one more last time. And exhaling, coming up. Next option, let's just open our arms a little bit wider now as we sit nice and tall. Just make sure you can see your hands in your peripheral vision. Breathe in as you breathe, let's tuck and roll back and bring your arms in towards each other. Breathe in, as you breathe out, we're going to open the arms wide and come up and then rebuild your spine. So just a little bit more movement through your shoulders, your arms, and then we can really open the chest a little bit as we come back up and sit really nice and tall. Maybe just lift the chest, maybe we can even look up at the ceiling. Then tuck your chin in as we roll back, reaching your arms forward, and then breathe in as you breathe, coming back up. Just open the arms wide, and then maybe just lift your chest, pull your shoulder blades in and down. Then we can reach our arms forward, just slide your legs away, lift your arms up towards the ceiling, bend your knees if you need to. We're just going to forward. So just stretching out, bring your hands towards your toes, your nose towards your knees. Big bend in the knees if you need to, otherwise your legs can be straight. Then breathe in. As you breathe, just slide your hands up the front of your legs if they're long, and then rebuild your spine. Let's sit really nice and tall at the top. Roll your shoulders. We're want to shake out your legs a little bit there as well. So then lie all the way down now. So it's up to you. You can put your hands on the floor behind your hips. You can roll over to your side and lie down. Or if you want to come with me, we can keep our legs long. Flex your feet so the soles of the feet are facing the front. All heels are in on the floor. They stay on the floor. Reach your arms forward with control. We're going to breathe in, lift and lengthen. As you breathe out, find your C curve, and then very slowly imprint your spine. So don't collapse, don't let your legs lift off the floor. Take your arms up towards the ceiling, then your shoulders come onto the floor, and take your arms towards the floor behind you as your head meets the floor, and then take a big circle of your arms wide to the sides, and then just let your arms go slightly on the mat down by your sides, and then relax your feet. If they're still flexed, just relax them. So from there, we're just going to do a little bit of lying down work now. So we're semi-supine with our knees bent. If anybody wants to, at home, you want to put your head on a block or a folded up towel or cushion to support the back of your head or your neck, please pop that underneath your head now. So we don't want to be looking back towards the wall behind us. We need to make sure our neck is long. We're looking up at the ceiling. So heels and knees are in line with your hip bones again, so you've got that same neutral alignment. Just settle your lower ribs, just let them sink into the floor and draw your front ribs down towards your hips, just as we did when we were standing. Just settle your pelvis into its neutral position, so you might want to just do a little press down with the lower back into the mat, so the pelvis is moving up like that, and you might want to peel away, so we're going like this with the pelvis, and then just try and set it into that neutral position in between, so you're level, square, and then we can pull in and pull up. So you've got the zipping up of you, like you're zipping up your trousers and drawing in your belt again, so you've got that support around your centre. So a little bit of action, a little bit of mobility into our arms and our legs, our hips and our shoulders, always making sure that the core engages. So just have your arms light the mat down by your sides, try and turn your palms into face your hips, palms to ceiling. Take a big in-breath to prepare, and as you breathe out, we're just going to reach the left leg towards the bottom end of the mat as your right arm goes back. Breathing in, the arms then come back down by your side as your foot comes in, and align your left foot up with your right foot, and then take your left arm back and reach your right leg away. So if you want a little bit more stability, you could always just slide the heel along the floor as you lengthen the leg. If you want to keep your heel in contact with the floor, that's absolutely fine. Or we're just hovering it off the mat. The leg reaches where you do not need to extend the leg fully. If you feel your lower back starts to arch away from the floor as you take the leg further away, just keep the knee a little bit bent if you need to. So just a nice extension of your arm and your leg, coordination. And let's do that last one with your right leg and your left arm. And then bring the arm down by your side, put your foot back down next to your right foot, so we're back in that neutral line where we started. And then from there, let's just float the arms up towards the ceiling, or keep them down by your sides if you prefer. If you can, you just are facing your palms in towards each other, and maybe just really try and drop your shoulder blades wide across your back on the mat, so we shouldn't be lifted. We should be really stable across our shoulders and our hips as well. So from here, breathe in. So we're going to keep the knee bent this time. Breathe in as you breathe out. We're going to lift the left foot off the floor as the right arm goes back towards the floor behind you. Just bring the left knee just over your hip, and then bring the arm back over your shoulder as your foot comes back down. Then the right foot lifts off the floor as the left arm goes back. And bring the arm back over your shoulder as your foot comes back down. So nice and gently, nice and slowly. So making sure that these lower abdominal muscles are really working. So just feel them switching on as you lift and lower your leg. Don't forget to breathe into your sides of the ribs, into your back. So we've got that breath into our upper bodies, keeping the abdominals engaged. So we can stay like this, keeping it really slow. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, but if you can, let's just try and speed it up. So we're just going to do those little toe taps, maybe. So as one arm goes back, the toes tap down towards the floor. So just keep it nice and slow. And make sure you're really pulling in your tummy, using your breath. So it's a little bit more challenging now because we haven't got one foot on the floor all the while to stabilise, so keep it really slow if you need to. Maybe we can do 2 more each side. Keep it slow, and that's the last one. Your right toes tap down. Bring both of your knees up and bring your knees in towards your chest. Just take a little gentle rock there from side to side. Just feel your lower back releasing into the mat. Just allowing your lower back to massage you onto the mat. Let's put the feet back down on the floor. Just take a moment just to make sure we're stable again. So finding your neutral spine, neutral pelvis. Again, make sure your heels are lined up with your knees and your hips still. Just going to do a little bit of work in our upper core muscles, and we're going to add in a little bit of work in our sideways, obliques, our sideways muscles. So these are all part of a group of core muscles. So really important to try and include lots of different sequences. So trying to incorporate lots of different parts of our core muscles. So interlace your fingers, lift your head off the floor. Just take your hands behind your head and then just rest your head back down on the floor. Try and have your elbows lifted slightly away from the floor. You can see your elbows out of the corners of your eyes. And we're just going to start to mobilize just the upper spine. So breathe in. As you breathe out, we're just going to lift the head and your shoulders off the floor, coming up and breathing in slowly, coming back down again. So you don't need to come all the way up onto your tips of your shoulder blades. Try and make sure your pelvis stays still. So try not to curl your tailbone under as you lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Keep your elbows wide. It's quite easy to just pull your elbows in towards each other as we curl up. Try not to do that. Try and keep that space between your elbows the same all the while. And make sure we're scooping in here as you curl up. We're not pushing the tummy outwards, we're scooping it in. Let's do one more like that. And we can add in, we're just going to add in just a little bit of work through your lower abs and work into your hip as well. So breathe in as you breathe. Just lift your left foot off the floor. Bring your left knee over the hip as you do your curl up. Put your foot back down on the floor as you release your head and shoulders. Then lift your right foot off the floor. Bring your right knee over your hip if you can. And put your foot lightly back down on the floor as your head and shoulders come down. So do one more. Like that, each side. And then we're going to just add a little bit of a twist if you can. So we're going to lift the left foot off the floor and bring your right shoulder or your right elbow up and over towards your left knee. Keep the elbows wide, put the foot down on the floor. So just lift your left shoulder blade off the floor and take your elbow towards your knee or your shoulder towards your hip. Same difference, hopefully, but we're not closing that space in between our elbows, keeping them nice and wide. So I don't need you to try and get your elbow on your knee, your elbow just going towards the knee. So you're working into your side waist here as the shoulder comes up and over. So if you don't want to do that twist in your spine, absolutely fine. We'll just keep your feet on the floor and do your curl-ups. Can we keep going with these? We've done quite a few. So remember, take a rest anytime you need to. And let's do one more each side. And last time. And then put your feet on the floor. Take your hands from behind your head. Reach your arms long overhead. Stretch out your arms. And then split your arms wide to the sides. And let's pull the arms in and just let them settle on the floor by the side of your hips. Then, if you did put your head on something, cushion or folded up towel, just slip that away so the back of your head's on the floor and just walk your heels in a little bit closer to your sit bones, ready for your shoulder bridge. So this is why we really work the back of the body, the glutes, getting that mobility in your spine, fluidity, and keeping balance both sides of your body as well. So you can just keep it really small if you want to, just come to your little tip and tilt of your pelvis, or you can come all the way up on our shoulders. So let's start. Have your arms light on the mat down by your sides. Breathe in. As you breathe out, tuck your tailbone under and flatten your lower back onto the floor. And then we're going to keep going if you can. We're going to start to peel the spine away from that. Just gently pressing into the feet, pushing your knees forward. One by one, we're lifting our vertebrae off the mat coming onto your shoulders. Squeeze your glutes all the while. Breathe in as you breathe, keep those glutes strong. We're slowly going to come all the way down. So carry on doing with that, coming all the way up onto your shoulders. If that's too much for you, just do this little breathe in as you go, just do that little tip. So just tuck your tongue and flatten your lower back onto the mat, and then peel the lower back off the mat. Just keep it really small if you want to, otherwise make it bigger, all the way up onto your shoulders. Make sure your hips are level, the balance is symmetrical, both sides of the body. Slowly pinch your spine back down onto the mat. And then we can just add in just that little bit of movement through your shoulders as your option. So just put your arms up towards the ceiling, towards the floor behind you. You can take your arms all the way back if you want to. So just really opening up your shoulders and your chest. Then breathe in. As you breathe out slowly, just bring your arms back up and over and bring them down by your side. So just as your lower back's releasing onto the floor, your arms are resting down by your sides. Can we go again? Just keep your arms here if you want to, otherwise take them up and down. So just try and coordinate that movement. So we're synchronizing the arms with the spine. Should we just do one more really nice movement through the spine? Just should feel really nice. Just opening, stretching, opening up the hips, opening up the shoulders. Big in breath at the top and breathing out, still with the glutes and the core engaged. We're slowly coming all the way down. Just settle your spine all the way down onto the mat. Then just lift your feet off the floor one at a time and give your knees a hug, and maybe just take that little gentle rock from side to side. So again, we're just opening up your lower back. Then from there, one at a time, let's put our feet on the floor. And then we're going to roll over onto one side. It doesn't matter which side you roll onto. Just do a little bit of gentle side work. So we're going to start with our knees bent. So like on one side, have your bottom arm long, or you can put a cushion in between your bicep and your head if you want to put some cushioning in between there. Or just make sure wherever your head is, your neck is long in line with your spine. So your bottom arm long if you can. And then bend your knees and draw your heels in towards your sit bones. So just line your heels up with your sit bones and your shoulders. So you can just use the back side of your mat almost as a guide. So you've got a really nice alignment there. Make sure that you just really lengthen both sides of your waist. So you might just want to put your hand on your hip and push your top hip away towards the bottom end of the mat. So you just feel your inner side waist lifting off the floor so it's not dipping down as we lengthen both sides. Hand on your hip, hand on your thigh if you want to lengthen your arm. If you want to put your fingertips on the floor for a little bit more support, that's fine. All we need to do now is to pull up and pull in our abdominals. So we've got that support for our spine, keeping our pelvis nice and supported as well. So from there, we're going to float the top leg away from the bottom leg. So your top leg is a hip width apart from your bottom leg. So your heel and your knee and your hip are in alignment. Breathe in. As you breathe out, we're going to bring the knee forwards in towards the chest without moving your spine at all. And then breathing in, we're going to bring the knee back up in so it's in line with your bottom leg. Then exhale, we're just going to lift the top leg away from the bottom leg up towards the ceiling and then lower it back down just to hip height. And breathing out, the knee comes forward, and breathing in, your knees come back to that parallel position. Breathing out, try and keep the heel in line with the knee as you lift the leg up, not too high, and bring it back down again. So it's just that gentle forwards and back and up and down movement. So working these muscles in our glutes, our hips. Also, you'll feel it in your inner and outer thighs as well as you lift the top leg away up towards the ceiling and forwards. So just keep going with that. Try not to put any tension into your foot. And keep breathing. So just making sure that we just keep that shape of the leg the same. Keep everything else nice and still. Let's do one more in and back and then up and down. Now can you just stretch your top leg away? Reach through your toes, try and get your toes on that wall in front of your foot, and then let's just draw some circles in the air with our toes. Go nice and slowly. Let's try and do 8 each way. Don't rush. Relax your bottom leg. That's 4. So getting that lovely rotation around your hip. 5 and 6. Don't go quickly, you can go much more slowly than me if you want to. You can do it much smaller than me if you want to. Let's finish that last circle if you can. Let's draw those circles in the air the other way, keeping everything else really still. So we're just moving all in the joints, moving through your hips, strengthening those muscles, mobility around your hip. And let's do 2 more like that. Maybe that should be 8 each side, hopefully. And then we can bend that top knee. Just allow your top knee to come forward. So your top hip can roll forward and just switch off those muscles in your glutes and your hips. So it's very important to keep those hips strong and mobile. So let's come up. You might just be able to roll over onto your other side at home. Otherwise, just bring yourself up and over. Nice and gently come onto your other side. Slide your bottom arm along the way, or bend the arm if you want to. Put your cushion in between your head and your arm if you need to. And then we're just bending the knees. Just drawing the sit bones in. The heels in towards your sit bones, and really feel that length in your spine and the inner sideways. So we should always just try and make sure we've got a little space underneath our sideways. So we're stacking our hips, knees and feet and your shoulders as well. Hand on your hip, 5 fingertips on the floor maybe, but just gives you that little bit more stability. Pull in your abdominals and lift them up, so you've got that support around your centre, and it's just lift the top leg away from the bottom leg, so your legs are hip distance apart. Breathe in as you breathe out. Can we just glide that top knee in towards your chest, nothing else moves, and breathing in, bring that leg back so it's lined up with your bottom leg, and then lift the leg up towards the ceiling, not too high, and lower it back down again. Exhale forwards, inhale in, exhale up, and inhale down. So you can keep these movements really small if you need to. Try and switch up your bottom leg's done its work. It's just resting on the floor, and try not to tense into your feet either of your feet. And don't forget to breathe. Always remember that lateral breathing, so use your breath to support your movements. And let's do 2 more each way if you can. So just starting to feel how heavy your leg is, that weight's coming through your hip. And then last time, then if you can, just extend your leg away, reach for your toes, feeling that length in your inner sideways, your hips, shoulders, everything. Start to softly point your toes, and let's start to just draw those circles in the air with our toes. If it becomes too much, you might want to bend your knee and draw some circles in the air front. Let's keep going round that same way. So maybe we've got 2 more to do in that first direction. And then go to the top of that last circle and then unwind, taking your circles around the other way. So you might find that you've got a lot more mobility, or maybe you can strengthen one hip than the other. So the more we do these sort of exercises, maybe we can balance our bodies a little bit more, so strengthening the weak side maybe. And then let's finish off with that last one. And then again, just bend your top knee, just bringing it forwards, resting on the mat in front of your bottom leg, releasing, relaxing into your top hip, your glutes, and just take a breath or 2 there. So very nice. Let's come onto our fronts, roll yourself over onto your fronts, and then put your hands under your shoulders, push yourself up onto your hands and knees. And then from there, just pull your sit bones back towards your heels again. So you just give that a little bit of a stretch again into your lower back, into your hips maybe, as we do an extended child's pose. And then just gently come back up onto your hands and knees. Come back into your tabletop position. Wrists under shoulders again, knees underneath your hips. Shoulders back and down. Let's go back to our cat and cow. So breathing in, breathe in. As you breathe out, tuck your tailbone under, just as we did before, rounding the spine. So just a really lovely stretch. Opening up your shoulders, navel to spine, chin towards the chest. Then we're coming in with the sit bones tipping up, the spine dipping, the shoulders gliding down your chest and your eye gaze forward. Let's go again. Just gently really moving your spine, as big a range of motion as your spine allows. You keep it small if you need to. Keep your arms and your legs still. Let's do 1 more. Finishing off in your cow pose, so just looking forwards, shoulders back and down, and then lengthen your spine back into your neutral tabletop. So we're gently going to make our way up to a standing position. So if you can, come with me, tuck your toes under, just walk your hands to your knees, lift your knees off the floor, walk your hands to your toes, put your heels down on the floor, bring your chest towards your thighs, bend your knees a lot if you need to, otherwise just straighten your legs a little bit if you can. Remember, still pulling in, navel to spine, and then slowly coming all the way up. So just rebuilding your spine, slowly coming up, just like we did at the beginning. And then breathe in, exhale, big shoulder off, breathe in on your next step. So let's one more last time, let's just roll all the way down again. So see how much easier that should be than it was before we started the class. So find that length in the back of the legs, the opening of your spine, pull your tummy in, bend your knees as much as you need to, coming slowly all the way back up, rebuilding your spine, then standing nice and tall, just breathe in, lift your arms up towards the ceiling, look up, take a really good stretch, but you're just trying to get your fingertips on the ceiling, lifting yourself out of your hips, then start to look forwards as you bring your arms wide to the sides and bring your arms all the way down by the sides of your hips. Big shoulder roll there to finish, slide your shoulder blades back and down, really nice standing posture, and well done. Thank you very much. Enjoyed the class, enjoy the rest of your day, and